responsibility to use its influence on Vladimir Putin to defend international rules and principles. To talk about this US-China diplomacy, I'm joined now by Dr. Zeno Leoni, an expert on China from the Defence Studies Department at King's College London. Dr. Leoni, thanks for joining me. Let me put it bluntly, how much leverage does Joe Biden have with President Xi of China right now?
I think Biden has very little leverage because this is not about the personal relationship between Biden and Xi, but this is more about the fact that there are structural problems between the United States and China. Of course, for a good reason, we forgot about the fact that prior to the invasion of Ukraine, there was a trade war between the United States and China that was going on. And we remember how little the sanctions, the trade sanctions put in place by the Trump administration could do to change the posture, the foreign policy, or the internal politics of China. But I think Biden here is trying to use the crisis in Ukraine to put China under the spotlight and to see whether China finally wants to try to become a responsible great power. And I think the indication here is that there is an hegemonic vacuum here because China doesn't want to play that role yet.
The Americans are clearly worried that China might choose to both economically, financially, and maybe even militarily support Vladimir Putin's war machine. Do you think the Chinese will take that decision?
I don't think so at this stage, because the problems that Russia is having on the ground in Ukraine cannot be easily fixed by buying a few more missiles or tanks from China. As far as we know, these are problems related to the morale of troops or logistics and planning. And so there's very little that China could do about that. On the other hand, if China was to provide lethal weapons to Russia, that would drag China directly into a proxy war with Ukraine, with NATO in Ukraine.
But okay, so militarily you don't see it happening in terms of Chinese support, but clearly Russia is looking to China for major economic and financial support, given the level of sanctions in the West. Is Putin going to get what he wants on that front?
So on the one hand, I think China could do just enough to keep Russia afloat, perhaps by using its banks, companies, and currencies to help Russian trade and the economy to bypass the sanctions. On the other hand, we shouldn't assume that the Kremlin will be happy to be bought off or to become, economically speaking, a vassal state of China. So the Kremlin will be very wary in that regard. So I think help might be minimal, just enough to keep Russia afloat.
Very interesting insights, Dr. Leoni. I thank you very much indeed.